On the agenda tonight, we're going to be having a listen to Lara Trump, and she's going to be singing I Won't Back Down. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, I don't know a lot about American politics, certainly. I know that there's a lot going on over there at the moment with Donald Trump, and it was Joe Biden, but now it's Kamala Harris who's now running, I think. Anyway, I don't do politics on the channel, and this is a request that has been made. I do look at every video objectively, so this isn't going to be politically based or have any kind of political angle to it. We're just going to be taking a look at Lara's voice in the pitch monitoring software with her release of I Won't Back Down. And of course, everyone will know Tom Petty's voice singing this particular song, and we'll work our way through it as we normally do. So let's get this up on screen. And there'll be a link to the original video in the description below, as always. The first thing to mention is that Lara openly admits that she's not a singer, and she just got the opportunity to do this, and she thought, why not just get in the studio and record this? So she did say that she likes to get up and sing at karaoke, and I think a lot of people do enjoy doing that, but don't necessarily go into a studio and release a studio track. So the request that was sent through was asking me to look at her voice and just see exactly what's going on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to listen to the isolated vocal and see indeed what is going on.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down.
So you'll be able to tell straight away, you might even be able to hear it, that we've got some really heavy processing going on here from a pitch perspective. We are, borderline auto-tuned here, but most likely if it was recorded in a studio, they've probably done this manually, meaning that they've moved the notes to these lines, A440 standard pitch. This is another thing that I can quickly explain in this video. Some people who actually seem to know quite a lot about music and recording don't know that auto-tune and pitch correction are separate terms for different things. They think that just correcting any pitch is known as auto-tune, whereas pitch correction is when you grab, imagine that this line was in between the notes here. Pitch correction is once it's all recorded and the note is flat, you can grab it and move it up to the line. It's manual. You move it around yourself. So auto-tune is automatic, and that's why it was called auto-tune in the first place, because it was something that automatically moved the voice. Somebody wasn't listening to somebody sing and trying to move it really quickly to the notes if they missed it, because by then it's too late. It has to be an automatic process to snap it, milliseconds after the note has been attempted to be hit, to then snap it to whichever note they want it to sound like, rather than where it actually hit. So those are two different things. And you've got things like, I think Antares Auto-Tune is a product or a company that do it for live auto-tune. So that is automatically moving the voice. But then you've got something like Melodyne, which is pitch correction. That's what it's called. And that is a manual process of correcting the pitch. And it's got no auto in the description because it's not doing it by itself. It needs a human to do that. So anyway, the reason I mention that is because this is most likely, because they're in a studio, I'd be surprised if they just ran it through auto-tune. They might have done, considering, how tight to the line this is. But we will just listen on a little bit more.
I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground.
So yeah, we can see that we are really on these lines. So obviously this is indicative of somebody who doesn't sing a lot. And like I've already said, she said that she's not a singer. Now, where things get really interesting is that this is what the lines, or the vocal lines, look like plotted on a pitch graph of somebody who openly says, I can't sing, or I don't sing, I'm not professional, I just do it for fun. So they've taken her voice and they've stuck her voice strictly on these lines. So let's have a little bit of a rewind to a couple of weeks ago, where I looked at Barry Gibb's voice. What have they officially now done to Barry Gibb's voice? They've pitch corrected it, meaning they're getting Barry Gibb to sound more like Lara Trump. And this is what really highlights the craziness, borderline stupidity of the modern day music industry. Is, you would say, in any sensible, non-delusional walk of life, you would say to somebody, okay, right, we've got Barry Gibb's voice and we've got Lara Trump's voice. Which voice do we want to sound like which? So would you say Lara Trump wants to sound like Barry Gibb in terms of having his vocal ability, or does Barry Gibb want to sound like Lara Trump, who openly admits she's not a singer, she just does karaoke? The music industry says, well, obviously, we've got to make Barry sound more like Lara because she's on the lines all the time. And not only have they said that, but the official Bee Gees channel have thought, yes, that is true. We want to make singers like Barry Gibb sound more like Lara Trump. So what we'll do is not only have that as a goal, we'll take a recording that was recorded in 1989 on a live performance, and we'll try and make it sound more like Lara Trump being on these lines. So this is just absolutely, unbelievable to think that this is going on. But this is literally what's happening with the best voices of all time over the years. They are making those voices like a voice that openly admits that they don't sing professionally and just do it for fun, for karaoke, and aren't really bothered about their vocal ability. So that's where the music industry is. But this is an analysis video, so we will listen on. But just to put things in perspective about what's happening now in 2024.
And I won't back down.
But anyway, let's talk about vocal technique, because here you can see that Lara, with her voice, is singing very much in one place. So we don't have a lot of dynamic range from quiet to then being quite loud, either going into light head voice or using chest voice. I'd say she's just singing all in the same place here. And she does do this a few times, I think. Let's just have a listen again.
And I won't back down.
And this is something that Tom did with his voice, but not to this extent, where, for example, going, I won't back down, it'd be that kind of thing. That slight bit of vocal fry, going into it like that. But when you hold on to vocal fry, it can start to sound a little bit weird, because it is going to stand out. Vocal fry, more often than not, doesn't have a discernible note, even though you might go, there might be a note in there when you then connect your vocal cords, but this, nobody's going to be able to get a note out of that. So when you go, won't back down, all of that first part isn't really going to register.
And I won't.
Yeah, so it's holding on, and you can see the pitch monitoring software, where we've got the vocal fry, there isn't a note there. So it's just a noise. And this is why, to some people, they might hear that and think, oh, it's not something that they particularly like the sound of it being held. I think it's just because it's held that it stands out.
And I won't.
And You know, obviously I'm exaggerating it, but that's the sound that she's going to. But I know what she's doing. You know, that is a very common technique. Like I've already demonstrated, to lead yourself into phrases, but also, you know, coming out of phrases, you can apply vocal fry.
Oh, back down.
And even there, back down. She just ends, but going back down. You know, some people do that kind of thing. And go into that vocal fry at the end.
Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. And hey,
And remember, with that Barry Gibb video, at the end of the song, towards the end, we have the same note that Barry hits. Guess what it looked like? It looked exactly like Lara Trump's note that she's holding here, just plotted directly over that line. I mean, I know people are going to say, what? How can you compare Barry Gibb's voice to Lara Trump's voice? First of all, I'm not comparing them. If I were comparing them, I'd talk about Barry's dynamic range and his vibrato and his, you know, his mix of tremolo and vibrato, of that, you know, blending the two together to get his sound. But what I am comparing is the way that the music industry applies this to now every voice. And they're going back and editing performances like this before this was even possible, before digital pitch correction existed. So you'll now hear a Bee Gees performance, for example, with a lead vocal that has been pitch corrected like this, but that was live. I say live in inverted commas because it was live, but now it's been pitch corrected. It isn't the live vocal of Barry's that we're hearing anymore. It's a pitch corrected version of that live vocal that now ceases to be. But just to highlight the point that this is what they're making great singers' voices look like, as well as people that don't sing, that might just like to sing at, you know, karaoke bars or whatever, which I've mentioned in lots of other videos before. That's great for the music industry. It means now Lara Trump can be as accurate as Barry Gibb, because what they're doing is they're bringing Barry Gibb down to the other level that they can tune everybody else, so that all singers now will sound the same. They'll have exactly the same vocal accuracy.
And I won't back down.
Again, we get this little break here where that vocal fry came in.
Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
And the thing is, when you've got this level of correction going on, it's almost like it's exactly the same vocal that's been copied and pasted. So, on the point that I just made about it sounding exactly the same because pitch correction has been applied in exactly the same way, I thought, was it exactly the same? You know, have my ears picked that up? So what I did, and what I've done, is I've copied and pasted the first chorus onto the second chorus with these vocal lines, and I'm going to bring on the first chorus now. And there it is. So the reason it does sound exactly the same is she's recorded the chorus, they've pitch corrected or auto-tuned it, and then copied and pasted it. So as we know, with a natural voice, you can't replicate these lines. And doing it to this level, you can see that, yeah, even here, you know, as I bring in halfway between, this is actually joining up here, and this line over here is filling in that gap. Again, the timing's absolutely perfect there. So this is exactly the same audio file that's been produced, just copied and pasted. So yeah, each chorus, yeah, I mean, this might be the same on the last chorus. We could check that out as well. So I've just jumped to the final chorus, and I think you guys are probably ahead of me here. So this is the final chorus, and, well, chorus number 3, and this is chorus number 1, which is the same as chorus number 2, and it's the same as chorus number 3. So you can see how, again, we've got this line here that appears. It's literally joining them up when you bring on that first chorus. This is why I love doing analysis videos and looking at it in this kind of detail, because we can literally break things down to show when the same audio file is being repeated because of the pitch lines we've got on screen. And even still, people don't understand this detail that we're looking at things in, that when I bring on, I mean, look at this, for example, this tiny variation of pitch where we were on the E4 and we did actually go down, 3 cents, maybe 5 cents between that kind of place. And the other chorus does precisely the same thing. And we know from looking at hundreds, if not thousands of vocalists, that this only happens when you're listening to the same audio file. And multiple music professionals will back this up. They will tell you that repeating these pitches perfectly like this is absolutely impossible, especially when you start talking about the timing of them, flipping from one to the next and there's no difference. A lot of people still don't understand this, and I even had a comment from a lawyer who was saying about my Celine Dion video where this happens. You can see that it's the same thing replicated. Even they said, oh, what you're saying, and they were obviously a Celine Dion fan, and once subjectivity gets involved, that's the problem. But they wouldn't accept it and say, oh, the evidence that you've provided on screen, it doesn't explain anything, and you'd be thrown out of the courts and you'd be held in contempt or something, they'd say something like, I would be impeached for even making the accusation that it was a mimed performance. But I did respond to them and say, but I'm providing the evidence as I would do in court, and I would explain what these lines mean, and I would get the 6 vocal takes that Michael Jackson did singing 4 words, and he couldn't match his lines after 6 attempts. He was trying to sing it exactly the same way 6 times, and it sounds the same, but you get tiny variations every time. That's the way it works. It is like a fingerprint of the voice. But yeah, these tiny variations in pitch that we're looking at are impossible to replicate another time with another take. That's just how it works. That's just how it is. So now we're just looking at the repeat of the chorus at the end. So we've kind of got a double chorus. And the important thing to mention here is, up until now, we've just had a copied and a pasted chorus for the first, second, and third. But this, what is effectively the 4th chorus, when we bring this on top, you can see a little bit of variation. And this is what I'm talking about when we say about the lines not matching up when it's a separate take. This actually shows you that even with a heavily pitch corrected, borderline auto-tuned vocal, if it was another take, you still get a variation, and hopefully you can see that these lines are not going over the top of each other like they were before. So it means that this was a different take, still running through the same software, but because it was different, it shows up differently. They're not perfectly over the top of each other. So again, this shows you the kind of detail that we can look at it in, and highlights that even when you've got a vocal that you've recorded it, you've really pitch corrected it to within an inch of its life over this line, record another vocal, do the same thing, it looks different, even though it's had the same thing applied to it. So yeah, that means that they did record another chorus at the end here, and rather than just copy and pasting the chorus throughout the whole song. So anyway, to answer the question, what was going on with Lara Trump's voice? Hopefully that question has been answered, but it's also been good to maybe shine a light on how the music industry is now starting to point in this direction of trying to get everything perfectly on the lines like Lara's voice is here, even with singers that don't sing like this. So, I mean, it's certainly an interesting parallel to draw, but I think it does show you, in my opinion, how crazy it is that we're trying to get everything to this level rather than leaving the voices where they were. And then if everybody else wants to use pitch correction or auto-tune to try and get close to those great singers, then yeah, that they can do that. But taking the great singers and making them like the pitch corrected auto-tuned vocals, for me, it's just totally the wrong way round. It's, people aspire to sing like Barry Gibb. in the example that I gave earlier. So to actually now change his voice into something else that it wasn't and bring it in line now with pitch corrected and auto-tuned vocals, for me is just absolutely crazy. But anyway, as always, let me know what you guys think about all of this, everything that's going on at the moment. Keep those suggestions and requests coming for future analysis videos. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!